Welcome to Over 40, Fabulous and Pregnant. I am your host, Jamie Massey, and you're listening to episode 71. This week, we are back with a pregnancy story. And today on the show, we have Orla from Ireland on to share her pregnancy journey at 41. And if you feel like you are struggling to get pregnant, or if you're even struggling to keep a baby, this episode is for you. And in this episode, Orla shares that she had 3 doctors tell her that she couldn't even have children. She has endometriosis and a septum uterus. But after surgery to correct these things, she got pregnant on her first try. Now, she was 37 when this happened, and this was her first son. When she was ready to have her second, it wasn't as easy. She calls it baby loss, and I want to honor that phrase for her through the rest of this intro. I love her determination to keep going, because getting pregnant wasn't her challenge. It really was keeping them. And I think that made for a stressful pregnancy with her daughter. She gives really good recommendations that have all been linked in the show notes. You can go to over40fabulousandpregnant.com/episode 71 to find all the links we discuss in the show. I've started to do that with all of the shows now, so it'll just be the website name plus /episode number if you're ever looking for more additional information or show notes. Just trying to make that easy for you to find. She is also 17 years sober, and so she shares her story in I Love Thy Body book series. There is also a link for that. She goes into what the story is about. It's about her sobriety and different things. It was done in 2020, so she shares her baby loss in the story, but not her daughter. She has such an incredible story, and I just don't want to give too much away. Last week was the Donor Egg Roundtable show, which I think was really well received. Thank you for sharing all your comments with that. I am continuing the Roundtable series on episode 80. I'm just now working on scheduling it and getting the guest for that show. It's going to be IVF over 40 Roundtable. I asked you on Instagram if you wanted a guest on the show to have done IVF, but it hasn't worked. And so I asked you on Instagram if you wanted to have that perspective on the show. I believe IVF is a chance at pregnancy, and it's not necessarily a guarantee of a baby. So I'm really glad that you also wanted to hear that side of it too. I just hear from so many of you that IVF isn't working. It breaks my heart, and I really want to give you a voice in that on that show. So I'm glad you agree. If you've done IVF in your 40s and it hasn't worked for you and you'd like to be on this episode, you can email me or DM me on Instagram. Just tell me a little bit about your story, how old you are, how long you've been doing it, that sort of thing. And I'm hoping to schedule that show in the next 2 or 3 weeks. As far as my update, I can't believe I'm 19 weeks and 3 days when this show comes out. And I just continually pinch myself. I can't believe I'm almost halfway. We got our first baby gift from my sister last night. It's kind of our first gift, if you will, like after we gotten pregnant. It's a onesie that says, "Auntie, you gotta come get me. Your sister's freaking me out." It's perfect. And it's so my sister. She also got us some rattles to put on the baby's hands and feet. Getting this gift, it gave me such a strange, uncomfortable feeling. Like, it just was such a foreign feeling to me. Like, this is really happening. Like, Jamie, I need to come to grips. Like, this is really happening. I have been talking to someone on Instagram about creating a baby registry. I haven't done that, but I know I need to start because that is not going to be a once and done in like an hour thing. So that is on my list to do. The baby is also moving like crazy, which is just so magical. I just love it all the time. He actually has been moving so much. My husband has been able to feel it, and it was really special to me. Anyway, I still haven't purchased a pregnancy pillow. I woke up last night at like 3:30 with just the worst back pain. I couldn't go back to sleep, so I went in the living room and slept in the recliner for the rest of the night. Maybe it's time I get a pillow. Maybe. I definitely feel like I've popped, which is super fun, and I am loud and proud about it. I am all about wearing the tight shirts to show off my belly. My birthday is coming up in a few months, my 43rd birthday, and you better believe this belly is going to be seen. I'm excited about it. I'm starting to enjoy pregnancy, if you can't tell already. Enough about me. Let's get into Orla's pregnancy story at 41. Orla, welcome to the show.
Hi, Jamie. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on the show. She is sharing her pregnancy at 41, and boy, does she have an amazing story. Before we get started, Orla, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I'm Orla. I'm mum of 6. I've got Lachlan, who's 4. I've got 4 angels, Regan, Riley, Quinn, and Kaylin. And I've also got my little rainbow baby called Evelyn, who's 11 months. And also I'm a dog mum. I better not forget Molly, my spaniel, who's 3 in January. And
Amazing.
my lovely husband, Stuart.
Awesome.
And we all live here.
Yeah. Oh, did you mention where you were from?
Oh, sorry. I'm from Galway, the west of Ireland originally, but I live in Leicestershire in the UK.
Wonderful.
I've been here with my husband I'm with my husband 6 years in April. Yeah.
Awesome. So she was pregnant at 41. That's kind of our story that we're sharing. But her story kind of starts in her late 30s, after she had her first pregnancy. So can you kind of start us from there?
Yeah. So I met my husband actually on Tinder, of all things.
Fun.
I had never had any luck with men. And then I met my bearded husband, my beardo, as I call him, in April 2018. So it was a whirlwind romance, I suppose, with our age and everything. I met Stuart. I was diagnosed with endometriosis in my early 30s. I was diagnosed with endometriosis, and I've endometriosis stage 3. So when I met before I met Stuart, I was begging my consultant to have a hysterectomy. I was in that much pain with my endometriosis.
Oh.
And he was like, no, I want to give you the chance of family. And I was like, I'm single. I've been single for 4 years. I mean, Jesus, I'm never going to meet the right person. And then little did I know my Stuart was around the block on Tinder. Swipe right. And we just hit it off. We fell in love. We're very, very well matched, I suppose. Both quirky people, both geeks. Before I went on my first date, I said, if you want a family, if you want children, I'm probably not the best person for you, because I've been told that my endometriosis is just getting worse and that I might never be a mum. I've been told that by 3 consultants previous to meeting him,
Wow.
So, Stuart was, even though I pushed him away constantly, Stuart, because when I met Stuart, I was going through trauma therapy for domestic abuse, my past, for PTSD. So I pushed Stuart far, far away from me constantly, and he just kept coming back. He gave me the space I needed. I did 4 months of intense narrative exposure therapy with the trauma unit to deal with my past. and then I could move on and have a life with Stuart. And that's what I did. He moved in with me. I had surgery in December 2018 for endometriosis. It's there when my consultant said to me, "You have the most tiniest ovaries I've ever seen. If you release an egg, it will be a miracle."
Oh
His
my
exact
gosh.
words. Yeah, he said, if you're not pregnant in 3 months, I'm referring you for IVF, because I'd never ever gotten pregnant with any previous partner or anything. When he did that surgery, I also had a septate uterus. So I had the septum divided, and they actually reduced my risk of miscarriage from 40% to 25% during that surgery. Yeah. So
Wow.
it's probably because of that surgery that I have my little boy, Lachlan, really. So it is. So then he said to me, "I've given you 3 months to conceive, and if you don't, you're coming back to the fertility clinic, and then we'll refer you for IVF or fertility treatment." So I was like, "Oh my God." And I was like, "But we only met, like, do you know what I mean? We weren't even a year together." And we were like, "Oh man," it was just like, what do you do, in this situation? I knew that Stuart was for me, the one I wanted to be with for the rest of my life. He knew the same. So we just said, "You know what, we'll just go for it. We'll just go for it." So we started trying to conceive when I was able to. So 6 weeks after surgery, we started trying to conceive. And luckily, I didn't realize I have what's called ovulation, you ovulate quite quick. What's it? There's a word for it. Sorry, I've forgotten it.
I don't know what it is, actually.
Yeah, it's my consultant told me this, that I ovulate, so I catch a pregnancy very quickly. I've forgotten the name of it. There's a name for it anyway. So yeah, so we were actually blessed with our lovely Lachlan. We started trying for him the end of January, and we caught very quickly within the first 2 weeks of trying for him.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it was meant to be, because I've never ever been pregnant with any other previous partner. On the 6th of March, it's quite sad. It's happy but sad. So at 5:15 in the morning, I felt. So I've been feeling sick for a couple of weeks, and I love my tea. I'm Irish. I'm like Mrs. Doyle, if you know Father Ted. That's what I'm like. I drink 6 to 8 cups of tea in the winter, and probably 2 to 4 in the summer. I absolutely love my tea. I'm like massive into tea, and I was going off my tea, and I felt really nauseous, and we were kind of wondering whether we were, and they were like, we hadn't been trying to conceive for long. It mightn't be, but we said we'll do a test anyway. We had a test, and it was 5:15, and I will never ever forget it. On the 6th of March, I did a test, and it was positive, and we just burst into tears. I couldn't believe it. But unfortunately, 5 hours later, just over 5 hours later, I got a call from home to say that my grandmother had passed away on the same day. So it was happy news, and then devastating sadness on top of it,
Yeah. Tell us what your grandmother said.
So my mum, when I told my mum that I was pregnant, when I went over to my grandmother's funeral, I went over and I told my mum that I was early days. I would have been only about 4 weeks, 5 weeks pregnant with Lachlan, probably 4 weeks pregnant. And she said that my grandmother, before she passed away, she said that there was a baby coming into the family. And that baby was my Lachlan, which is absolutely amazing. So, yeah, with the pregnancy with Lachlan, it was a very emotional and physically draining pregnancy.
Yeah, but to carry him to 38 weeks, that's amazing.
I know.
And they only thought 24.
Yeah.
So tell us what happened after that. Your pregnancies following after that.
So following Lachlan, when Lachlan was 8 months old, myself and Stuart decided to try for a sibling for Lachlan. And he was about 8 months old, 7.5 to 8 months old, 8 months old. And sorry, I'll probably get emotional. So the same thing happened. I caught quite quickly, and
it's okay.
Quite emotional.
I understand.
It was in the middle of lockdown, and the coronavirus had hit, and it was in the middle of lockdown. And I found out I had the same symptoms. I went off tea. I felt really nauseous very early on. My boobs were sore, the usual symptoms I had with Lachlan. And I found out I was pregnant that August, I think it was. Yeah, August. And so it was early August, I found out I was pregnant, and we were in the middle of lockdown. And although it was the same symptoms, it was different bleeding wise, I suppose. I meant to mention I bled on Lachlan when I was 10 and a half weeks pregnant, and I was terrified I was going to lose him, 10 and a half to 11 weeks pregnant. So I was in the middle of sorry, I'm kind of going back, but it kind of you'll know why I'm going back, if that makes sense. So I bled on Lachlan, and I was in the middle of a bra fit, and I needed the toilet, and I went into the bathroom in Marks and Spencer's, which is a department store here in England and Ireland, and probably I don't know if there was one in America actually. Marks and Spencer's. Anyways, department store, and I saw blood, bright red blood, and I absolutely panicked, and the blood just wouldn't stop. Luckily, it was the false alarm with Lachlan. I didn't realize that obviously during pregnancy, some women bleed more than others, kind of thing, and it's not a miscarriage. So because that happened, I tried to relax when I saw blood with this other pregnancy. And even I rang up the early pregnancy unit, and they said, unless you're bleeding golf ball blood, amount of blood, it's nothing to worry about. So we went to our early scan, and we thought actually, because I wouldn't stop bleeding, I was miscarrying. And we went, and they were told us that there was actually 2 babies. Sorry. And we were pregnant with twins. They were in the same sack. But because I was bleeding so much, they said they needed to rebook us a scan back. I went like 10 days or something, 7-10 days. They give you that gap, don't they? Which it's the worst time in your life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially having another child. Do you know what I mean? He was only 10 months old. So his birthday would have been Halloween. Unfortunately, went into a scan 10 days later or 7 days later. It's such a sorry. And we were told that there was no heartbeat for either of them.
I'm so sorry.
And the twins were gone. Sorry.
Orla, thank you for sharing.
I shouldn't say sorry for crying. I don't know why.
No.
I sorry for crying.
These are so hard for all of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And on this show, it's really important that we share our losses, because we aren't alone. We've all possibly gone through this. So thank you.
So I named my twins Regan and Riley. They're actually 2 girls. I found out later life in my spiritual journey that they're 2 girls, identical twin girls. But it doesn't end there, unfortunately. So Stuart had asked me to marry him. We had planned our wedding. Found out that my twins had no heartbeat on the 16th of October, and we were due to get married on the 24th of October. I still got married.
Wow.
But to this day, I can't look at my I don't have wedding pictures up in the house or anything, because I was still carrying. This is a lot longer story. I ended up having an incomplete miscarriage. So that Friday, I found out that I had miscarried, or was miscarrying my twins girls. And they said to me, would you like a COVID surgical intervention, which is not a DNC under like the surgical that they used to have, but a COVID's one is just without any medication or anything, just local anesthetic. Would you like that one, or would you like to pass them naturally? And of course, me with this young son who's 10 months old, I was like, definitely, well, he was actually older now, 10 months, then 10 months, he was almost 1. I would like to pass them naturally, because there's no way during COVID, I don't want to be in the hospital. I want to be with my family. So they said, yeah, that's fine. They just said, they kind of gave me the advice, because it was twins, that it might be more difficult and I might end up back in the hospital. And I did. I ended up trying to pass them naturally and failed in the bathroom upstairs. And almost passing out. Luckily, my mother-in-law came over to look after my son. Stuart wasn't allowed to attend with me. They rang an ambulance, and the ambulance took me, and I got admitted. But she wasn't allowed anywhere near me because of COVID and because of lockdown. And it was the most horrific, traumatic, devastating experience of my life, that your husband couldn't even hold your hand. And then they sent me home in the middle of the night, just before midnight. They sent me home, having thought that they, in their words, got rid of the products of conception. That's how cruelly they call it. And they didn't. I had a scan a few weeks later. My twins, part of them was still there. I had an incomplete miscarriage, so I had to be scheduled after my wedding for that operation, not operation, but because they couldn't operate it. They couldn't give you a natural, like a D&C that they usually would give you because of COVID. So it was it's called a manual evacuation or something. I don't know the word for it. It's horrific. They just literally pull them out kind of thing. So I was scheduled for that in November. That was just awful. He couldn't be part of that. He still couldn't hold my hand.
Yeah.
I had to do it alone. And the consultant, I will never, ever, as long as I live, forget what she said. An absolute, sorry, I don't want to curse, but that's what she is.
Go for it.
She's an absolute bitch. She turned around to me and said, I suggest you wait until COVID and lockdown or the pandemic is over until you try again. And I turned around and said to her, are you kidding me? I said, I was 39 at this stage. I said, I'm almost 40. I've got endometriosis. I said, there isn't, I don't have time that people can wait. And I said, how dare you? She actually told me after she did the procedure that I've removed your products of conception. And I turned around and said to her, they're my twin girls. I'll have you know. She was so heartless and horrible. And that's why I didn't have my baby, my rainbow baby later on in that hospital. I have never stepped foot in that hospital since then. And I will never.
Yeah.
Because they treated me just appallingly, absolutely appallingly.
Yeah.
I had no follow-up. It was just awful.
Terrible.
I even say when people recommend it, I'm like, don't go if, I just don't like the hospital now because of...
Yeah.
And that's what annoys me about miscarriage. I hate the word miscarriage for a start. Anyway, baby loss, early baby loss. Like when I lost my twins, people were like, oh, how far along were you? And I absolutely hate that question. How far along? Do you know what I mean?
It doesn't matter.
To me, gestation does not matter. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. And I don't like the whole people that compare it. Like I got compared my twins. Some actually another consultant compared my losing twins to a stillborn baby, and I've had a few people do that,
Yeah, it's all hard.
Yeah.
It's all hard.
I don't think people should compare grief, and I've had it all through this journey, unfortunately. Myself and my husband Stuart were absolutely and utterly devastated. We thought it might have been just bad luck. So then we said, time is not on our side because of me having stage 3 endometriosis. Lachlan was a miracle baby as it is. I never, ever expected to fall pregnant, never mind with twins. So I said, we had this conversation, will we try again? And we did. But unfortunately, at 6 weeks, just over 6 weeks, we ended up going into an early scan and we're told that our other baby, another girl, Quinn, was no heartbeat and she was gone. So by then it's not bad luck. So over here, there's what's called a recurrent miscarriage clinic. It's Tommy's. They're a well-known clinic. They do fantastic work. And I rang my GP. You have to ring your GP when you miscarry anyway. So I rang my GP and I told him that I had had another miscarriage or another baby loss. And I begged him basically, and I said, can I be referred to Tommy's? And he was like, well, you have to lose 3 babies to be referred to Tommy's. And I said, well, what do you think twins are? I said, they don't share a heart. Do you know what I mean? It is 3 babies. I've lost 2 twins. Like they don't share a heart. I said, and also with my age, I was coming up to 40 at this stage. So I was 40 in the June. I said, I want to be referred to Tommy's clinic, recurrent miscarriage clinic. And they did, thankfully. I had to argue my case, but I said I had lost 3 babies. I said I had 2 twins that have passed away and I have another baby now. That's 3. That's 3 heartbeats. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Good for you for advocating for yourself.
Yeah. And I said also, they have another clause that you have to be over a certain age as well to get to be referred. So I said, I'm almost 40. I think it's over 35, 36, but don't quote me on that. It's a certain age gap, you know. I said that I'm trying to give my son a living sibling, and I've had basically 3 losses. So they referred me anyway, and I was referred to a fantastic consultant called Professor Quemby. She's absolutely amazing, such a gem, like really. And she put me on her trial. So the trial that she put me on is the endometriosis trial, which is inflammation of the endometrium even. So she wanted to check if I had that, and that's what was causing my miscarriages. So she put me on that trial. I had to take a placebo drug. So in order to treat for endometriosis, they do a biopsy to find out whether you have endometriosis. And then they treat it with either doxycycline, which is the antibiotic, or else they give you like a placebo drug. So you don't know, it's a blind trial. So mine was on a blind trial. So I didn't know if I had doxy, or I didn't know if I had the placebo drug. Well, I knew I was diagnosed with endometriosis as well as endometriosis. So that autumn, around August kind of time, I started the drug for the treatment, because you have to wait a certain amount of time. So you have the biopsy, and then you take the treatment, and then you have to have another biopsy, and then you have to abstain, from intercourse during this process. So although we don't have time, I was like, what do you do? Do you know what I mean? It takes a big chunk out of your time that you only have, but we had to do it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. There was no point in, we didn't want to try again and then miscarry again. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So we said, I'll do it. So I did the trial. You have to be under 42 for this trial. So you do, that's their kind of, their regulations kind of thing, because it's research as well. So luckily I was 40 in the June. So yeah. So I did the trial. I don't know whether I had placebo or doxycycline, but I felt really sick on the medication. So I think I'm almost certain that I had doxy, but I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Because I've had doxycycline before for an infection in my past. So I was too sick then to attend the biopsy that finds out whether it's cleared it, unfortunately. So I didn't know whether, do you know what I mean, it was successful or not, unfortunately. And then trying to decide. So then So then, because of my mental health, it was basically getting diminished by now. I was getting my PTSD, basically my PTSD, a post-traumatic stress disorder, was re-triggered by all this baby loss, the trauma of it.
Yeah.
And my nightmares just got worse and worse. And I was signed off sick with re-triggering PTSD from work. When I lost the twins, I buried it. Do you know what I mean? I didn't, I buried it. And I have to say, I'm in recovery. I'll be 18 years sober on the 29th of April, a day at a time, please God. And being in recovery and going through something as traumatic as baby loss, I didn't want to drink, but I was kind of closer to going insane, if you get me. So that's when my spiritual life kind of really helped. I have a Reiki therapist, an angelic Reiki therapist called Vicky Hughes, who has just been absolutely amazing. She's become a good friend of mine, and she helped me through my trauma and my grief by doing angelic Reiki with me. And now that I've actually followed in her footsteps, and I've just become qualified in the area, and I hope to help other women with that, because for me, medication is not the answer for me being in recovery. I'm not cross addicted or anything, but I just didn't want to take meds. I was offered antidepressants. They didn't work for me. I want to kind of go down the alternative route to through my grief and everything. I found Vicky after I had Lachlan. I found Vicky, and I just upped my Reiki sessions after I lost my twins. And especially after Quinn, I started having more Reiki to help with my grief and trauma. Yeah. Because it really hit home kind of after I lost Quinn. It really, I fell apart. My relationship with my husband really struggled as well, emotionally and physically. And that whole kind of, you don't want them near you. Intimacy, even a hug would just make me.
For me, it was like a protective bubble that I need to
Yeah,
protect myself. And if I show
yeah,
emotion, then I'm
yeah,
vulnerable and I don't want to get
yeah.
hurt.
And then also we actually decided to adopt a puppy actually before we found out we were pregnant with Quinn. We just not to fill the void, not to fill the void as such of losing the twins, but we had that so much love to give. And I
Yeah.
needed that distraction that we decided to adopt. We decided to get a puppy, and it was our Molly, who's a Cocker Spaniel. But even at that, even waiting for her to come into our arms from a puppy, I was terrified she was going to die. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
And I've been terrified that anyone's going to die since I've lost my twins.
wow.
It's massively changed my relationship with my son. I was terrified anything would happen to him. I still am. You know, like I wouldn't even leave him in people company and stuff like that. Just, I don't know, it's just that anxious, that anxiety of losing two babies and two lives.
Yeah.
That I was, you know, like I was worried about Stuart. They say this does happen. This is a thing with women that have gone through loss, or anyone that's gone through loss. You're terrified that you're going to lose something or someone. I also got baby loss counseling. I've had 2 years of baby loss counseling, and they put me on. I don't know if you know the Worst Girl Gang Ever.
No, I
If you
haven't heard
don't
of
know
that.
them, look them up. Oh, they're amazing. It's a podcast, The Worst Girl Gang Ever, but it's a community. And I ended up doing a course through my counselor, Lily May Foundation is my baby loss counselor, Amy. She put me on a course called Pathway to Recovery.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically trying to come to terms with what the baby loss that you have experienced, and giving you the strength and courage to basically grow, to be able to try again. So I did that course after losing Quinn and the twins not last year, the year before last.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 21, late 21, I think
Yeah.
was it? Yeah. Or mid
Was it
21.
helpful?
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I would highly, highly recommend it. I don't know if they do it now, but they do like a warriorship. So you do like a membership,
Uh-huh.
and they've got like a Facebook community. I really like, they've written a book, The Worst Girl Gang Ever. Listeners definitely look them up, because they really, really helped me and supported me through my journey. So they did. My baby loss counselor really helped me as well. I had baby loss counseling up until Evelyn, my rainbow baby, which I'll
Yeah.
talk about in a minute, till she was born, like really, till after she was born, really,
Yeah.
just to give me that help, I suppose, and support that I needed, because I felt like I needed that
Yeah.
support.
It's really strong of you to see that you needed help. And you seem like you really gathered this amazing team to really help you through all this.
Definitely a little village I have,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. There is hope at the end of the tunnel. And that's one thing that I've had through my whole life, even since I've become actually sober. Hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel. And even in the darkness, there is always light. And that light, that beacon of light, is called hope to me. And I actually tattooed it on my foot
I
to
love
stick that into my head. Do you know what I mean? It's on my foot
Yes.
with a sunflower, that there is this beacon of light, which is called hope. After that, we took a bit of time. The consultant noticed about my mental illness and my mental health, that I was struggling mentally. So when I was on her books, I got pregnant with my fourth pregnancy, and that was Kaylin. And before Kaylin, I was put on progesterone to help the baby stick, as they say. Yeah. And they were like convinced that that's what I needed, progesterone, to help me along. They put me on progesterone. They said, take it the minute I get a positive test. And I got a positive test with Kaylin, my little boy. But sadly, after a week after taking progesterone, I miscarried Kaylin at 6 weeks. So Kaylin was an early loss as well. And then this is when she said to me, Orla, now you've lost 4 babies. You have a decision to make. You can either take a break. She said she really highly suggested I take a break from trying to conceive, or that we take a break as a couple, or else try again. But she could see, I suppose, when I talked to her, she could see the heartbreak and the devastating heartbreak that I had after losing all 4 of my babies. Even though I had a living child, I was so desperate to give him a living sibling. Or we were, myself and my husband, Stuart. So she said, take a break. So we decided to take a break and focus on what we had. And all through this, I have been blessed that I have a little boy I absolutely love and adore. And I just took time out. This is when I resigned from nursing. I resigned to be with my little boy and before he went to preschool. So I did that and I took time out with my family. But then one night, one night in April, it was just before my 17th recovery birthday, so 17th sober birthday, we went to Postmodern Jukebox. Do you know them?
Uh-uh. Is that a band?
They're amazing.
Or?
They're in the States, Postmodern Jukebox. It's a band. So they're like, they do covers, but they're like jazz and I don't know how I'm going to describe them now, like really jazzy and upbeat. Oh, they're amazing. So we went to see them. Stuart booked tickets. He booked tickets actually before lockdown and the pandemic, and they had to be rescheduled all the time. So finally we got to go in April it was April last year. And anyway, we finally got to go and he booked a hotel and it was lovely to have that little time away. And his mother babysat Lachlan overnight. And although I was had a bit of worry about leaving Lachlan, we needed the break,
Mm-hmm.
So we took that break. But then we, although we were told to take a break, then we said, do you know what? If it's meant to be, it'll be. And I hate that. I used to hate that when people say, if it's meant to be, it'll be. I've been told that for years. I'm like,
yes.
Oh, will you stop? Go away, will you?
Pick a new phrase.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
It's like, or it'll happen when you least expect it. I'm like, heck off.
Yes, I do.
So we did the deed, as I say, in case anyone I know is listening.
That was it.
No, what does he say? He said he must have had lucky sperm because, we conceived our lovely little Evelyn. Bless him. Bless her even. Yeah.
I think it's so amazing how often you were actually able to get pregnant because the doctor at the very beginning said you have almost no chance.
I know.
And here
That's
you
what
are.
I can't understand. Because my consultant said I had that you catch very quick. I don't know the name of it, hyper something mobility or something. Someone will probably know. Hyperfertility, is it?
Okay, it says hyperfertility is women often begin their periods early, have very regular cycles. You could set a clock and fall pregnant easily.
Yeah, that's me. I was regular all the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm so just in awe.
Evelyn, my little rainbow. So Tommy's had said to me, when I get, so they prescribed me progesterone again, even though I had lost Kaylin, because we were going to try one more time. This was our last try because we were just exhausted, emotionally, physically. I was exhausted, mentally, really strained. So this was our last time we were going to try, because I would have been 42 last June. Sorry, 42 this June and 41 last year. So I was like, no, it wasn't nothing to do with the age. It's just that mental strain constantly, triggered, constantly triggered by the whole toilet thing. And I get triggered by going to even the toilet and have my period because of all that. Do you know what I mean? What I've been through, if that makes sense to other listeners. I'm sure it will, Yeah. And then that 2-week wait and things like that, just absolute head wrecking. I did a bit of the ovulation. People a lot of people have their own way of doing things, don't they? Like trying to conceive and stuff. Didn't take like really expensive vitamins. I took trying to conceive from 7Cs, which worked for me all the previous times. But I did. With Evelyn, I completely went off tea. Even before I tried to conceive her, 4 months before I went off tea, I had decaffeinated tea if I had tea because I thought it might have been the caffeine. And during my test, actually, I need to go back, is saying that I actually found out I had a deficiency with vitamin D, which can cause baby loss, unfortunately, as well. So they corrected that, and I started taking high strength vitamin D all through the pregnancy with Evelyn. So the pregnancy with Evelyn, I'm trying to remember when we did the test. It was early June because it was the Jubilee. Around the 7th or 8th of June, I'd have to look back, but I should know this. It was just before my 41st birthday. And like that, I felt really sick when I ate, and I'll never forget it. I was in town with Lachlan and we were in the playground and I was like, I'm going to be sick. I'm going to be sick. But it was very severe nausea. And then when I got home, I vomited into this was on a Thursday evening. I vomited into the sink. So I was like, whoop. And I had always been nauseous on Lachlan, but never vomited, but just severely nauseous. So the nausea just kept, and I told Stuart, and we got locked into bed. And Stuart was like, do you know what I do? I'm going to go and get a test. And I was like, really? Now, I was due my period a couple of days on, like, say, so this was Thursday, I was due my period, I think the next day, actually, on the Friday. And I was like, oh, I'm due on tomorrow. But we just wait and see if the period comes. And he was like, no, we'll do a test. So we did the test. We didn't wait it until, like, I know you're meant to do the early morning urine, but we were just so excited and wanted to know. So we did it on that Thursday night around, I think it was about just before bed, I think around 10:30 or something like that. And it was pregnant on we had a digital one, which usually don't show up, but we had an early digital one. And they showed up before and it said pregnant. And we're like, just kind of looked at him and he looked at me and we burst into tears. But then because of everything that we'd been through, we're like, no, I have to do another one. But then I couldn't do another one straight away. I had to wait until the morning. So then we did one the morning and then it was pregnant again. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. Yeah. That day, or on the Friday, I rang Tommy straight away and I said, I've just got a pregnancy, positive test.
Yeah.
I'm going to start the progesterone. So I started the progesterone and I was absolutely terrified because I had taken the progesterone and had miscarried Kaylin. So I was like really on edge going, God, I have to go through this again.
Yeah.
Just the doubt and the worry. But then I took on everything I had learned through the worst girl gang ever about trying to like breathe and stay calm and you know what I mean? And every pregnancy, there's a woman actually in the States she's the woman that created Pregnancy After Loss, I think. Is it Lindsay Henke or something like that? Her name is. She does these affirmations and I have her app actually. I have her app probably still on my phone actually. And I downloaded her app straight away. And she's got all these affirmations saying that every pregnancy is different. Do you know what I mean? Because it's a different egg and a different sperm. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just banged that into my head. And I said, this is going to be okay. This is going to be okay. She's going to be okay. She's going to be okay. And I just kept on doing affirmations every day because they told me that I wouldn't have my scan until the 26th of June. And I was like, oh.
It's so long.
I was like, I just can't do this again. I was like, oh no. That's like, my birthday was the 23rd of June. I was like, that's 3 days after my birthday. I was like, oh no. I was just panicking. And I was like, and then, of course, Stuart being so optimistic, positive, he's just he just uplifts me. And he's like, Orla, it's going to be okay. We're going to have our baby. You know what I mean? He says, we're going to have our rainbow baby. And he had said that all through this journey, like that we are going to have another child. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's not spiritual at all, but he just believed it in his heart, and he's like, we're going to go to the scan this time and there's going to be a heartbeat. We're not going to have any sad news. It's going to be all okay. So yeah, so I continued to take progesterone. That made me feel sick, but I still took it. And I took the pessaries, like you can take it orally, can't you? But I took the pessaries and went to the scan on the 26th, my first scan with Tommy's, and I was absolutely terrified because as you can imagine, a lot of listeners and yourself will imagine that for me, the room of like the scanning room is triggering. The hospital is triggering. Bearing in mind, I was in a different hospital to the previous hospitals, so that was good. One good thing, but every scanning room is laid out the exact same. And there's just that fear and that. Yeah, someone suggested that I write it down on a piece of paper, my story, like basically that I'd had 4 losses and that I was triggered by a scanning room and that. So I didn't have to talk to them. I just handed them this piece of paper. It helped. And I said that if there's a heartbeat, I need to hear it straight away just to put me at ease.
Uh-huh.
And lo and behold, on the 26th of June, there she was, a strong heartbeat on our little
Oh,
Evelyn.
how beautiful.
Yeah. And actually, her name, Evelyn, means a gift wished for or longed for child.
Oh,
That's what her name means. It's Irish, but that's the meaning of it. We had picked that name since we decided to try for another baby. When we got pregnant with our twins, actually, we picked that name. But then when we found out they were twins, we picked other names, like twin names, you know.
yeah.
So our little Evelyn. So the scans then for Tommy's are, we had one at 6 weeks, so an early scan. I was actually further along than I thought I was. So
Uh-huh.
I went in there thinking I was about 7 weeks pregnant, and they said, no, you're 8 weeks in one day or something like that. I was like, oh God.
That's
So I was
great.
further along.
Yeah.
It was great. But it was further along than I thought I was. So that was good. And then they told me that she was due on, this is the other thing, she's due on the 7th of February. And my mum's dad, my granddad, his birthday is the 7th of February. He's up in
Oh,
spirit. So it was like a gift really that they sent us. Like he sent me
yeah.
Evelyn is how I felt spiritually. So yeah, so she was due on the 7th of February. And we just couldn't believe it. We got out of that scan going, I just can't believe it. So the next
Yeah.
scan was at 10 and a half weeks. And by then I was taking the progesterone, I was doing the affirmations and my meditation and mindfulness and everything. I was trying to be so positive, but I was on tender hooks because that gap between it's only what, 2.5 to 3 weeks gap of waiting for another scan, 2.5 weeks, I think it was, but it's still nerve wracking. I was just like, I'm never going to be able to do this, you know? And then I was
Yeah.
like, well, we have to book another scan just for my anxiety, because my anxiety was getting worse. And Stuart was like, no, we'll just wait. You'll be okay. Just keep doing everything that they suggested. So I started, kept doing everything that they suggested. Anyway, going back to the scan at 10 and a half weeks, I was a bag of bloody nerves. I was like, oh
Mhm.
my God. So this scan was with actually my consultant, Professor Quemby. The previous one was with a colleague of hers, like a junior kind of colleague. But this scan was with her, and she was like, just couldn't believe it. She absolutely couldn't believe it that we were expecting. She was over the moon. I was like terrified. She knew my anxiety and stuff like that. And I said, I need to see the heartbeat straight away. Do you know what I mean? Before you
Yeah.
say anything to me. That's one of the things that I had to do all through this pregnancy. So yeah, there she was, a strong, healthy heartbeat, our little Evelyn.
Oh, I
I just
get
couldn't
that
believe
too.
it.
I get that too because in between scans, I'm like,
Yeah.
there's so much doubt in your head, but then that scan gives so much relief hearing the
Yeah.
heartbeat. I totally get that. Yeah.
Yeah. So our little Evelyn was there and she was growing healthy weight and everything.
Mhm.
And I was to take the progesterone. So my next scan was in 4 months, about 16 weeks. I was due to take the progesterone until the 16-week scan.
Mhm.
So I had to wait. And I was like a further along wait. So I was like, I'm not able
Yes.
for this.
6-week gap. That's
Yeah,
huge.
I know. I was like, how am I going to cope?
Yeah.
But she just said, continue to take the progesterone, do what you're doing, and everything, it'll be fine. And that. And then Stuart always said to me that everything was going to be fine. He constantly said it, even though I was terrified because we had heard that our twins had no heartbeat at 10 and a half weeks. When I went into that scanning room, that's what I expected to hear
Yeah.
of this baby. And he was like, no, the baby's going to be there, you know?
Yeah.
And by this stage, we didn't know it was obviously a girl yet because it was too soon. But then we found out with Lachlan that we were having a boy. I was kind of on the fence. So I'm Irish. So our family tradition is not to find out your first baby. Do you know what I mean? And just have a kind of as a surprise,
Uh-huh.
when you deliver them, it's a boy or a girl. So it's on the fence and Stuart was dying to know. He wanted to get everything planned, the nursery and just have everything really sorted kind of. And he was dying to know really and to put a little kind of, how do you say it? Like to know he knows it's a little person, but he can kind of give it a nickname. And we called him Lockie when I was growing him and things like that. And same thing he wanted to do with Evelyn. He was dying to know. And I was kind of on the fence still. But the cutest little thing is they say that children are very intuitive.
Mhm.
And our Lachlan was like, I'm having a little sister to everybody.
Wow.
Yeah.
Before you ever found out.
So we told him after the 10.5 week scan that time. So that was our second scan with Tommy's. We told him that he was going to be a big brother, although he's a big brother, obviously, but mummy was carrying a baby but it's a secret, you can't tell anyone. Shh. But because we thought that my mother-in-law would figure it out anyway, because she used to like mind Lachlan and come to the house quite regularly and things like that. I was like, and she was like inviting us to stuff and things like that. And I'm like, what if I feel sick or have to be sick or anything like that? So I was like, we're going to have to kind of tell them, aren't we? So we told Stuart's mum and dad, and I think we told his sister possibly. Might have been after the next scan, possibly. No, it wasn't after the next scan, could be the gender scan as well. So yeah, we told Stuart's family that we were expecting as well. I know people say, oh, wait until the 12-week scan, but that doesn't apply to me. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, they'd say, oh, wait till the 12-week scan, but we actually had a 12-week scan, which would have been with the NHS anyway. So we had Tommy's scans and then we had the 12-week scan. So we waited till, I think we had 3 scans when we told his sister, and I'm trying to remember when we told my family. I think we might have told them either the second scan, I think it might have been, or the third.
And physically, how did you feel throughout your pregnancy?
Exhausted. I had that really bad, but with endometriosis, and now I've been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and now I know why. I have severe fatigue. I can get very tired very easily. And I was wondering why. And it's a very big sign of pregnancy that's what was happening. That's why I was so tired. And then the progesterone made me even more tired. So physically, I was still able to do my dog walks with my Molly up until about, I think, just December last year, it must have been, yeah. So I was about 30, I'm trying to remember how much, about 33 weeks, yeah. About 33.5 weeks. I was able to walk Molly. Unlike my pregnancy with my son Lachlan, I got pelvic girdle pain from 20 weeks. So I really struggled physically with him.
Mm-hmm.
But this pregnancy, although I'm slightly older, physically it wasn't as bad. I was still high risk of delivering early with Evelyn. So I didn't have to have as many scans as Lachlan with my cervix. The scans I had with Lachlan were to do with the cervix about the delivering early. So I had to do that all through Lachlan's pregnancy. But luckily in Evelyn's pregnancy, because I had Lachlan after term, as they call it, 38 weeks, they weren't really, I was high risk, but I wasn't high risk, if that makes sense. It wasn't as high risk as I was with my first pregnancy with Lachlan. But because I've had miscarriages, I was still high risk with Evelyn's pregnancy. So, yeah. So I'm trying to think now what was after that. Oh, the gender then. So we ended up having a gender reveal we announced actually on Rainbow Baby Day, which was August last year, wasn't it? Yeah, we announced that we were expecting a rainbow baby.
What'd you do?
Oh, we went to one of our favorite walks. It's called Compton Verney. You'll see it on my Instagram. It's a beautiful kind of like manor house, like country walk, woods and everything. And we announced the pregnancy then. And then we announced the pregnancy on Rainbow Baby Day. But the gender then, we did our gender reveal after that. We went to a place called Attenborough Nature Reserve, which we both lived beside when we first met. Stuart moved in with me, and then I got pregnant with Lachlan in Nottingham, where I used to live, and then we moved down this way. But yeah, so we did. It was quite funny because we went for the scan, and Lachlan kept on saying it's a baby sister, it's a baby sister. He was so convinced, and although I had been told by a psychic it was a baby sister, I just was trying to put that, wash that off, kind of thing.
Yeah,
I know I believed in them. I was like, oh, she's probably. You know what I mean? But in my heart, spiritually, I kind of felt like it was a girl, and Stuart knew it was a girl as well. So it was really strange. And Lachlan was dead convinced it was a girl. So then when we had the scan, actually in a private scanning place that they give you the cannons and things like that, and we released the cannons in the nature reserve up in the air. They were environmental friendly.
Good.
Yeah, they were.
In case anyone's asking.
Yeah, no, they did. We released a cannon and like it came out like spread it out in pink. And Lachlan just looked at us going, I told you it was a girl. You know,
He
he's
already
quite
knew.
funny, bless him. He was like 2.5. He would have been 3 like last October. So yeah, he was kind of looking at us going, I knew it was a girl, do you know?
Yeah.
You should have listened to me. Yeah.
So
So
what were you thinking whenever you saw the pink
oh my
canyon in
God.
the sky?
There's a video on Instagram of me screaming.
Oh,
Absolutely screaming. It's joy. Obviously, I wouldn't have minded another boy. I mean, yeah, but they're the best buddies. Even though Evelyn is only 11 months and he's just turned 4,
hmm.
the bond between them is just amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I love
Just
that.
melt when I see it. Like I just still can't believe it.
Yeah.
He was so excited about having a little sister.
Mm,
And the
yeah.
dog gets on well with her as well.
Yeah. And what about products? Is there anything that you can recommend that helped with pregnancy?
Oh yeah. So going back to the pelvic girdle pain, I got a bit with Evelyn, but not as severe with Lachlan. But there is something now I'm trying to think of the name of it. Oh my God, it's like a magnesium that you put over your bum and then it helps you sleep. You have that restless leg towards
Yep.
the end of your pregnancy. Oh my God, I got really bad. And then you have to sleep at certain side of the pregnancy as well. I slept on that side when I found out I was pregnant because I was so terrified of losing Evelyn. So I just, I got the big cushion out straight away and things like that. Stuart hates that big pregnancy cushion. Yeah, he was delighted when he had to get rid of it. But yeah, I'm trying to think of this. I don't want to look it up, but it's like a magnesium butter put across your bum and it helps you sleep. It's for restless leg. So what you used to do is put it on my ankles, on my feet, like and massage my feet with it, and then you put it on your bum. It's safe during pregnancy.
So that was
Yeah.
helpful for your
Yeah, you
legs.
can use it, I think, after pregnancy because I was using it postpartum as well,
Yeah,
for after the C-section as well, because I had a
sure.
C-section with little Evelyn. I have to say we're we're not heavy metal fans, but we're metal fans and rock fans. So before, in my 3rd trimester, we went to Evanescence and Within Temptation.
Hmm.
Those two bands,
Yeah.
yeah. Evelyn started kicking during With Them Temptation were playing Stand My Ground. So she came into the world. They put Stand My Ground on in the theatre, and she came into the world screaming to Stand My Ground.
Oh, fun.
Yeah,
That's really fun. So this pregnancy was even better than the one with your first.
I think so. Yeah, obviously mentally, it was similar anxiety
Mhm.
levels. Like I was last November, I had to go in. I thought my waters had broke. So I would have been, now let me think, I would have been about 20 something weeks around the mid-November. Basically, I was, the way I was at risk of still delivering early. They thought my waters might have broken, but luckily they didn't. So I was really relieved with that.
Yeah.
But with Lachlan, I had lots of episodes of reduced movement. So I had to have a lot of CTG monitoring. And then towards the end of my pregnancy, Evelyn, I had to have them. Like up until I had her by a C-section, I had to have her CTG monitored. And also before, I have to say, I was at risk of prolapse with her. So they admitted me a week before I had her.
Uh-huh.
And because it was too dangerous to send me home because the way she was lying, she was transverse. So I was at risk of prolapse. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
We're near the hospital, but it would have been too dangerous to leave me at home. So they admitted me and I was there for a week before I had my C-section with her.
Uh-huh.
And she didn't turn at all because I remember the consultant saying to me, going, "Oh, would you just have her naturally? Will you just have her naturally?" And I was like, "Well, I'm transverse anyway, so I can't have her naturally." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also I have a C-section booked. They kind of tried to, they were like, "You do realize it's surgery. I've had 3 surgeries for my endometriosis. And then I've had my son, that's 4th surgery. This is your 5th surgery." They were trying their best to try and change my mind. And I was like, "No, I'm having a planned C-section." And then I had her at 37 weeks and 1 day. Her birthday was supposed to be 31st of January, but because of the transverse and the risk of prolapse, I was admitted and I had her on the 18th of January.
Oh, wow. And
Yeah.
just so everybody knows, being transverse means if you were standing up, she's horizontal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She's lying across me.
Yeah.
I was absolutely in severe pain because she's just lying like right across me.
Wow. You're like, let's get this out, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I remember going in for my last scan with Tommy's, and because though I was having growth scans with her, and they actually told me that they said you can't go home, and I was like, "What do you mean I can't go home?" And they were like, "Your baby's transverse," and I was like, she's been transverse before. No, like she's like directly across. Yeah, it's too dangerous. They said because if you went into labor, it's an emergency situation. They said you're not. Although you could get an ambulance, it probably wouldn't come to, quick enough. So they were like, you're at risk of delivering her home. And I was like, oh man. And my fear, I didn't want to stay in hospital. Hospitals triggered me and I was like terrified. I was like, Stuart, I'm not staying here. I don't want to stay here. And he's like, well, you're going to have to stay. And then it was like leaving my little boy, Lachlan. I was like, I don't want to leave him. It's the longest I'll ever leave him. Do you know what I mean? So I had to leave. 7 days I was in hospital, and then on the 8th day I had my C-section.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, oh man. And the thing is, I had to have the injections they give you, like the steroids. Because I was having her early, they gave me the steroids.
To help with her lungs.
Yeah, to help with her breathing, because she was going to be an early baby, there was a risk of her going into NICU. So I had the steroids, even though they've told me there could be side effects or complications in later life. To do with her, but some people probably would agree and some people wouldn't agree, but for me, my anxiety was getting worse. She started reducing her movements that night. The night before I had her, she was reducing her movements further, and I was CTG monitored up until I went down for the delivery. So it was really nerve-wracking. I remember there was a lovely midwife there, and I was in bits, and I was like, oh my God. I was absolutely terrified that she was going to be stillborn. Even though I'd never had a stillborn baby, I was just terrified that she wasn't going to make it.
Yeah. Now, did they ever discuss getting her earlier than you're scheduled because of the lack of the movement?
That's why I had that talk with the consultant about having her 37 weeks. I was meant to have her 39 weeks in one day. That's what the C-section was scheduled for, 39 weeks in one day, but I had her 2 weeks early.
Okay. Talk us through that moment, like when you're wheeled into theater. I love calling it theater. We don't call it theater here, but I think it's much better.
It is theater here, isn't it? What do you call it? What do you call ER?
The OR?
The OR, yeah. The ER, the operating room, yeah.
Yeah. Walk us through theater. You're wheeled in there. You're ready to go.
Oh, man, yeah.
Tell us what happened.
So I had to have with Lachlan, I had a spinal and epidural. Okay. And they do it differently in that hospital. So that's why I had a spinal and epidural. They told me it's because I was 6 foot tall and that it would not cover me with my back. You know what I mean? But this time I had a spinal with Evelyn. Oh man, it's just, I've worked in theatre as a nurse. I've worked in theatre and I more recovery room than theatre, but I had some placement in theatre and it's just, I was a bag of nerves. Oh, absolute bag of nerves. Stuart was grand. He scrubbed up. So he did. They knew how anxious I was. I kept telling them I was anxious they knew how anxious. They could see how anxious I was, because I was convinced. I was although Stuart was like, Orla, she's going to be grand. He's not Irish, but he just says grand. She'll be fine. She'll come out screaming and that. And I was like, no, there's going to be a problem. I can see it. I don't know. I was just so full of fear, I suppose, that she wasn't come out breathing. And she came out absolutely yelling it, screaming, absolute screaming. So
what were your thoughts when you heard all those screams?
Oh man, I couldn't believe it. I burst into tears. We both did. We just couldn't believe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That she was finally here. I still can't believe she's finally here. And she hasn't stopped screaming. She's funny. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I lost a little bit of blood actually during surgery, so I had to have a transfusion. And they do the thing they probably do it in the States, I would imagine, that they wash your blood and give it back to you. So you don't have to have a transfusion. You don't have to have someone else's blood. They just, there's a name for it. I can't remember what it's called, but they wash your own blood and then they transfuse it back into you. So I lost over a liter of blood. So I had to, have that washed and put back into me. That's the only complication that I actually went through.
That's amazing.
My C-section was really, really good. They took a look for my endometriosis and they said they didn't see much of it, which I'm relieved by, because I was convinced that it had returned during pregnancy anyway, before that. So no, they took a look at that, which was really good of them.
And did she have to go to the NICU?
No, she didn't have to go to the NICU at all.
Oh, what a relief.
I know, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I absolutely couldn't believe it.
Back in recovery, how did things go after that?
So the recovery, they were transfusing my blood and then they put her on my breast for some skin to skin. And then she tried to latch. Breastfeeding is a difficult one for me because with my son Lachlan, I managed to give him colostrum. And then because I had Evelyn early, I didn't prepare, I suppose, because some people preserve the colostrum, don't they? And I didn't have that. I suppose I didn't have the time, and my milk took a while to come in. The nurse kept on putting, or the midwife kept on putting Evelyn on my breast. And we had made a decision that if I couldn't breastfeed Evelyn, we were going to go formula, which we had done with Lachlan, because I struggled mentally with Lachlan to breastfeed. It really affected my mental health because I was absolutely heartbroken and gutted I couldn't breastfeed him. That's what I wanted to do. I had got the pump and I had bought all the tops and the dresses and, like the breastfeeding clothes, the pads, a really good pump and everything like that. And he just wouldn't latch. And I know you can go to latch consultants, and part of me, I should have probably went down that route, but mentally I just wasn't able to. I was absolutely exhausted trying to breastfeed both of them. And so she was so hungry that we had formula with us, luckily. So we gave her the bottle and she took the bottle straight away. But then they did say to me, why don't you try it home? So what I was going to do with Evelyn, which I didn't decide with Lachlan because mentally I wasn't able to with Lachlan. I got postnatal depression and anxiety with Lachlan's pregnancy. I was going to combi feed, so formula and breast. So when I got home, I tried to breastfeed and they were like, put her on the boob when she's hungry, put her on the boob. Oh my God, I was trying to breastfeed one night. This is terrible. It's funny, but terrible. I was trying to breastfeed and my spaniel went up on the other breast. God, mortified. So after that, I told my midwife, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Hats off to anyone that breastfeeds when they have young dogs and young children. You know what I mean? It's absolutely, I've got friends that do it and that, and I don't know, they're amazing. They really are.
Yeah. And we have so much pressure on us to breastfeed.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, because being fed
I was
is
absolutely
best.
heartbroken that I couldn't, but mentally, for the sake of my health and my having a young child with Lachlan and everything and a newborn baby, I just mentally couldn't go down that route because I was prescribed antidepressants with Lachlan's pregnancy because it mentally drained me that much, and being diagnosed with postnatal depression. But I couldn't take them. They didn't agree with me. And being in recovery, I'm very reluctant to take medication unless I really need it. Like I've been on morphine with my endometriosis. I've had to go on morphine patches.
Whoa.
But because I'm in recovery, I'm really reluctant to take high level painkillers. Like even now being diagnosed with fibromyalgia, I'm going to go down the alternative route instead of going back on medication. I have nothing against people on medication, but it's just because I'm in recovery, I'm very mindful. I don't want anything that's going to mood altering substances. I don't want them in my body.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I want to go the natural route. But yeah, I was really struggling. Like I had to be referred to the mental health visitor, Evelyn's pregnancy, and I still was having my baby loss counselling, a little bit of it as well to help me along, because I struggled we didn't really struggle with the bond as such, but that anxiety, that fear, like going out with her, I was absolutely terrified something was going to happen to her. My counselor, Amy, actually gave me a lend of a nanny monitor, which is the breathing monitors that you put under the cot.
Uh-huh.
And that was just fantastic because although she was in the same room as us and she was in the next to me right beside our bed, I was just terrified that I kept like staring at her constantly, you know.
Yeah.
But this nanny monitor, she had it on until a couple of months ago. Now she's off it now because she's been moving around and stuff. So you need to, once they're moving around in the bed, it's kind of, it triggers, you know what I mean? It goes off and stuff. It was really, really helpful. And it put my mind at ease that I had also a video monitor and a breathing monitor, because that anxiety, that fear was just too much, you know?
Yeah, I get that. I can see us really going that route too.
Yeah.
And physically, how was your recovery?
Compared to two of them, I bled. I actually had a postpartum hemorrhage with Lachlan. Thankfully, I didn't this time with Evelyn, even though I had C-sections. And I think it might have been, I had the, you know, have you heard of a pica dressing? It's like, I'm telling you different things now. It's like electronic dressing they put on you for like, they put it on your wound and it helps heal it. It's about 7 days. You leave it on the wound and then you get the nurse or the midwife comes out and she removes it for you. So that helped me heal. My wound wouldn't have been probably as healed if I didn't have that, because I struggled with my wound healing with Lachlan's pregnancy after the C-section. And then, like I said, I had a postpartum hemorrhage. I did, though, in fairness to me, I love my walking. And because I had pelvic girdle pain and couldn't walk in the third trimester with Lachlan, because I struggled physically, the minute I had Lachlan, he was 4 days old and we brought him to Coombe Abbey, which is like a country park with woods and stuff like that, even though I was only 4 days old. And people were like, oh my God, how old is your baby? And I was like 4 days old. And they looked at me and went, what? You shouldn't be out. You know, but I love going out. I love the outdoors and stuff. And I'm like, we didn't do too bad. I think it was 6 or 7 days when I was out first with Evelyn. There was so she was a little bit more to recover because of losing blood. I had to be on Clexane, so anticoagulants, the injections, you know.
Yeah.
Clexane. I had to be on iron tablets as well because my bloods were down a little bit from losing blood. So I suppose I had more recovery with Evelyn, I think, really, when I say because of losing blood really affected me.
Now, do you think you lost more blood because she was transverse, or did the two separate things?
I honestly don't know. I didn't really ask.
Okay.
I didn't really ask. All I know is that my bloods were all okay before that. So possibly, who knows? I don't know. Yeah, because he wasn't transverse. He ended up being, he was breech, wasn't he? And then he turned around and then he went breech again. So, yeah.
And mentally, how are you today?
I'm okay. I'm grand. I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia last month. So that's been, I kind of had a feeling I had it because my friends with endometriosis had similar symptoms as me. And I was wondering whether I had it or not. And it's one of these things that you can't really be diagnosed with as such. You just have to have blood tests and whether they're kind of elevated and things like that. And symptoms, all my symptoms pointed to it, but then there were symptoms of I could have had with endo. But it turns out I've got fibromyalgia. My joints are I get really cold. I'm freezing, like I get really, really cold, like to the point that my legs go numb when I'm walking and things like that. And also I struggle with washing my hair. Like, you know, when you're like reaching up to wash your hair, your joints, your arms and things like that really, really hurt. So they're signs of it. And I get really, really bad fatigue, as I mentioned earlier. And I've been getting that for a while. So yeah, so it's been a while it's taken a while to kind of adjust to it, I suppose. But I kind of had a feeling I had it for a good few, I suppose, years or months, really.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I'm excited for Christmas. It's Evelyn's first Christmas and Lachlan's 5th Christmas. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
I know. I was looking at pictures on Facebook and it was Lachlan was a newborn during Christmas because he was a Halloween baby. So he gave us our first night sleep before he was, I think, he was 7 weeks old when we had our first night sleep, and that was Christmas Eve. But yeah, looking at the pictures of him under the tree, it was just, it just melt. It just makes me so broody. But yeah, she's 1 in January, so I'm excited that she's like pulling at the tree, and like she's on the verge for walking as well. So you never know, she could walk Christmas.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, 'cause she's had like lots of steps already, and she's trying to stand unaided as well. And it's just so magical. We went to see Santa there to one of the like farms. It was really lovely on Monday. That was really, really lovely.
Oh yeah, fun.
Yeah, we had booked it 2 weeks ago, but because she was poorly, we had to reschedule. So yeah, we went Monday. It was lovely. Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you want to mention about your pregnancy or birth?
No, all I will say is anyone that is struggling to conceive, for me, it was kind of like I had to kind of, when I took that space and that break, I know when people are worried like about time, and I was worried about time, I don't have much time and things like that. But that break that we took did us the world of good, you know what I mean? To be able to get your head around what you've just been through and what you could potentially go through again, but then you mightn't go through, if that makes sense. And also what I mentioned about Lindsay Hecke or something, Henke, the girl that deals with pregnancy after loss. She's written lots of things. She has these affirmations. She's got an app actually that I downloaded. It just makes me believe that, it made me believe basically that anything is possible, and also with pregnancy, that they're all different. Like I've had 5 pregnancies. Yeah, only 2 of them kind of went to term, I suppose, but they're all different 5 little journeys, I suppose, really. And they were all similar, but different in many ways,
Yeah. Your husband, Stuart, had a vasectomy. Could you share a little bit how y'all came to that conclusion to do that?
We kind of were talking about this the other day, and we were saying, had we been a couple, so I say even if I was 40 or 41 or something, we would have tried again for another baby. But because we've gone through the multiple losses and been through Tommy's recurrent miscarriage clinic and everything like that, it's just too much mentally. It's just, it really exhausted us mentally and emotionally, really. And it put a bit of strain on our relationship. I hate to admit that. And it does for a lot of people. Do you know what I mean? Put a little bit of a strain on our relationship kind of thing. But what I will say is I hate people saying that my family is now complete, because my family is never complete. Do you know what I mean? It'll never, ever be complete, because there's 4 little people missing from it, really.
Yeah.
And they're in my heart. You know what I mean? So some people would see me as a mother of 2, but I'd try and say, no, I'm a mum of 6, because I've got 4 little angels up in the sky, and I've got my 2 here on Earth side,
Yeah, that's beautiful. Tell us about your memorials.
So I have a big love of fairies, and I've always wanted to do a fairy garden. And this Christmas, I've done a fairy garden out in our front garden, a little fairy village. And I've got a stocking for each of my little angels.
I love that.
I want to get some little signs to say, give it a name and stuff. But I have, I've been interested in writing a children's book for a while to do with fairies. So hopefully I want to write it on about, creating this fairy little village. And I tend to do one out our back garden as well.
That's fun. I can't wait to see that.
I know.
So tell us, what has been your biggest challenge being pregnant at 41?
I think it's sometimes been people, really, because some people would be like, oh my God, I can't believe, that you're going again, and the age of you. And, people like would have commented about my age before. Oh, you're too old. I'm like, no, I'm not too old. Do you know what I mean?
Nope.
Especially if it happens, if like come back to that whole, if it's meant to be, it'll be. If you're meant to be a mum at over 40 or whatever age, I've got friends that have had children a lot older than me. You know what I mean? And I think if it's meant to be, it'll be. And if you're meant to be a mum at whatever age, whether it's 25 or 45, you know what I mean? So be it.
Yeah, that's right.
And
after having lost 4 babies, what are some of the thoughts that really helped you through getting your rainbow baby?
Well, the Worst Girl Gang Ever definitely helped me. That support group. definitely, without a doubt. They
Yeah.
kind of were like I described it when I was doing a review for their course. It was like angel arms wrapped around me, that I needed that kind of love and protection to go through that journey. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Trying to keep positive, I suppose, and stay in a positive mindset, that really helps. I
Yeah.
actually downloaded there's a miscarriage probability chart as well. I
Uh-huh.
just downloaded that to know the chances of miscarriage at whatever stage I was at pregnancy, at that, how many weeks and stuff. So I religiously looked at that every day. So I
Yeah.
ticked it all down. And what I did with my appointments is every appointment and every scan was a different milestone. So I kept on ticking off the milestones in my
Yeah.
head, or on a piece of paper, that kind of thing, and said, oh, that's another milestone, that's another milestone, that's another milestone, to bringing me to meeting my daughter.
Is there anything you'd recommend that would help prepare someone for pregnancy and birth over 40?
Not everyone meets their husband or partner like at 20 or 30. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was another article I read that about that, like about not everyone meets someone, when when they want, I suppose, and whatever. I was single for a long time before I met my husband. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I dated the wrong men. I used to care what people think, but then writing the story that I talked about earlier to you, that after writing that, I don't give a fuck what people think, you know, because I
Yeah.
just need to be myself, because that's what Stuart always said to me. He's like, Orla, regardless, if people don't want to be in your life for whatever reason, then just let them go. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
If they want to judge you, that's their problem, not
Yeah.
yours. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything else that would have helped me.
What would you say to those women who are trying to conceive over 40? What advice would you have for them?
Say, don't give up. Do you know what I mean? Keep at it. I suppose, it shows determination, doesn't it? Like, I was determined that I didn't want to give up. Do you know what I mean? Yet,
Yeah.
even though this was our last try, I probably would have went again, even though Stuart probably didn't know that. But no, I think the word hope comes to mind, that, you know what I mean? Like, there'll be tough times, but.
And what advice would you give yourself when you were pregnant if you could go back?
Probably not to worry, because I was constantly worrying, and not to be so anxious, and fear as well, not to be so afraid as well. Like I mentioned, Stuart, he was like, it's going to be okay after or before every scan. He was like, Orla, she's going to be on the screen. She's going to be there. And I'm like, how do you know? Do you know what I mean? And I was like, he's like, because I just know. Do you know what I mean? He was just so positive constantly through the pregnancy.
Yeah.
He did my head in. He was so positive, bless him. He was like, she's going to be okay. She's going to be okay. She's going to have our baby girl. She's going to be okay. Or before we knew she was a girl, he was like, the baby's going to be okay, you know?
Yeah. I had a similar conversation with my husband just yesterday. I said, do you really believe we're going to give birth in July? And he said, yes, of course. And I was like, oh, because I'm having a hard time believing it. So I totally get it.
Yeah.
Tell us about this book you were in, about your story. If anybody wants to find more about your story, tell us about it.
It's a project that Serena Novelli, lovely woman, and Anna Bonsera and Laura Brand, they created the Love Thy Body project. But it was the founder really was Serena Novelli. And she created this project to basically that women, how do I say, women empower other women. Do you know what I mean? It's a group that's on Facebook. It's about empowerment, women empowering other women. And it's about loving your body, basically, no matter what size or anything you are, loving yourself within. And it's about loving yourself, mind, body, and spirit, really. And the book came about. There's 3 books. So there's number 1, 2, and 3. And I'm in the 3rd book. And it's about women's stories, about it's about their journey of self-love and about what they go through in life to fulfill that journey of self-love, I suppose, in other words of saying it. My story covers about growing up, about becoming an alcoholic and getting into recovery from alcohol. also covers about going through domestic abuse relationship in my 20s, early 20s, and coming through that. I also briefly talk about meeting my husband, Stuart, and going through the baby loss journey. It was done in 2020. So therefore my rainbow baby isn't in there, but Lachlan is in there. And then my journey about becoming sober. And it has been on Amazon, and it was the #1 bestseller on the hardback as well as the Kindle version in areas such as women in violence, alcoholism, chronic illnesses, because I mentioned about having chronic illnesses, and other people's stories mention about chronic illnesses, and other areas of abuse as well, sexual abuse, child abuse, lots of different areas of their life. It's really, really emotional.
Yeah.
I read other people's stories, and then I read my story, and I couldn't believe that I had written that. It was so emotional to read it, but it was so cathartic to write it.
Mm-hmm.
But I've told the world I'm in recovery, and I'm proud of it.
Awesome.
They're beautiful, 3 beautiful women.
Where can our listeners connect with you on the internet?
So I'm on Instagram at irishmammy _her littles on Instagram.
Perfect.
That's my Instagram, yeah.
It's so fitting. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, Orla, congratulations on your sobriety and your beautiful children. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Well, thanks.
And that wraps up another great episode on Over 40 Fabulous and Pregnant podcast. If you are over 40, trying to conceive, and would like a little bit more guidance through your journey to pregnancy, you're doing IVF or donor eggs and everything in between, I would love to help you through your journey. I had a great journey, and I want to really pay it forward for everyone else going through their journey. I am kind of revamping the community into more guidance and tips for helping you through this journey. And if you would like to be a part of that, please sign up at over40fabulousandpregnant.com/waitlist and be the first to know when it is open. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next Monday.